First, I'm going to do a quick introduction. I'm Julia. I'm from Barcelona. I've been on Ruby, working on Ruby and Ruby on Rails since 2011, but I've been a programmer for longer than that, even if you cannot tell. Uh, if you've seen any of my other talks, you might know that like I'm a bit of like jack of all trades or master of none. So usually talk about a bunch of stuff. I do like to talk a lot, so that kind of suits me. So this is a new topic that I've never talked before. You might have also noticed that I like to use all the keynote animations. It heads up that for the sake of accessibility, I reduce as much motion as possible from my slides, which it also means that it took me 1 week less to prepare this talk because it was all about like tweaking the animations. So I never going back to those. And that's my website. If you want to find me on the socials, you will find all the links there. Um, this is the moment that I take like some time to introduce the company that I'm working for. I'm currently not working. I'm taking a short sabbatical, but I'm like mostly doing nothing. But I'm also like learning new. Yes, I'm trying to learn new things, which includes what I'm going to show you about today. So that means that I'm not an accessibility expert. I've been like learning about it for the past few months, and I'm still learning. I'm very slow because I there's no pressure, right? I kept the page, just not to not break the flow of my presentation. So, and maybe the next company will be yours. You never know. So what is this talk about? As I said, this is not about a talk about accessibility theory because I'm still learning. Don't come to me as like, how do I do this accessible? I don't know. People I just don't know. But we can figure it out together. I can point you to the resources now. This is a talk about planting the seed for everybody to be a bit more accessible conscious on your like when you do your applications, your front end code. Um, and also like to make it easier for you to learn as you go. I think like the best way of like learning anything is by having to deal with it anyway. So it's not like I'm going to like study all the theory before I get into this topic. So hopefully you will be able to test this, what I'm going to show you very quickly on Monday when you are back at your work. If you are working, I don't want to assume everybody's working here because I'm not. And get some instant gratification. But let's first introduce some concepts. So what does accessibility mean when it comes to the web? You might have already know about this. You might have already seen there are a lot of acronyms and nobody knows what they stand for. They're very complicated to keep track of them. So, like, what is it? It's the web accessibility is the inclusive practice of ensuring there are no barriers that prevent interaction with or access to websites by people. And the last bit is important. It's like people with physical disabilities, situational disabilities, and socioeconomic restrictions, among other things. So when accessibility is done right, it means it's like the experience gets better for everybody, not just like we always think about people that maybe they have hard of hearing or like they have low vision, but there are more situations that we can all benefit from accessibility features. Before we dive in, I don't want to get too much into this because said I don't know anything, but I think there are things that are important to mention when we talk about this. So first of all, the legal framework. I I won't get there. It's complicated. But in case you don't know, in Europe, in the US, and other countries, you are required by law to make your websites accessible. You can get like a lawsuit. You can if you don't comply with it. So check it out and save yourself a possible fine, because at least in Europe, it was enforced last July. So it's there. Like people can come, they can tell that your website is not accessible and you will have to deal with that. So how people actually use the web, I added this because um, as I said before, it's not about people with obvious disabilities, which is the first thing we think about. It's about also like a temporary or situational moments. Maybe you have a broken arm, or you are in a noisy cafe, or there's sun shining on your screen, or you are on a slow connection, or you are getting old, and we are all getting old, all of us. So not everybody has access to fast internet or like a mouse. The mouse might be broken or a big screen. And we are already using accessibility features without even noticing. So for example, here, who increases the font sizes? I do that all the time, you know. who like uses the zoom like to like see an image better. I do that, or captions on the videos. I mean, I don't even know how to watch Spanish TV shows without subtitles anymore. I just cannot put like the words together if I don't read them. So also we get angry when the keyboard it's not doing what we are expecting it to do. Like you are like on a form or something and it jumps somewhere else. We get angry. And also don't get me started about mobile experiences where you cannot like close the like cookie pop-up because if like goes out of the viewport, it's this like a disgrace. So that's all accessibility, and we have to do it for everybody, including ourselves. Um, Also, like I want to mention here that people navigate the web with different assistive technologies. We always think about the screen readers. It's very common that your MacBook starts speaking because you press some keyboard combination. It happens to me all the time. I don't know how to turn it off. And that's the first thing we think, but there are more things like switch controls, voice input, eye tracking, and many other that we rarely think about it when writing code. So thankfully, we have the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, which is one of the acronyms. Remember this one. And these guidelines define what accessible means, how to measure, and how to get there. From the basics, the A level and the AAA, you might have seen that too. And the version 2.2 is the current standard. They are working on a 3.0, but like that will come in a long time, I guess. We just need to follow that. We follow the guidelines and our websites will be accessible. It's that easy. Not really. So we also like another thing that we might have seen is like the like accessible rich internet applications, the area labels. In our front-end code, is full of them. I admit that when I was I was mostly a backend developer. I am still, I guess, I don't know. I'm a backend developer, but when I was doing front-end code, I could see the area labels, but I didn't really know what they were doing. So honestly, now that I'm learning, it's like I could have done so much better because it is not complicated. It's like HTML attributes. It's that easy, honestly, if we do it right. So I feel like we made the UI so complicated, like in the latest, like with the time, with the pop-ups, the dialogues, the notifications, the toast, whatever, that they had to create this new toolkit so we can try to make these new interactions a bit more accessible. There's so much more. I will put these slides online, so don't worry about this. But like, I could go over through everything. You can go to the guidelines. They're a bit overwhelming because they explain a lot of things. If unless you have a problem that you like need to dive deeper, it might be a lot to learn. But there is this pre-course that I found very informative. They have videos. You see people with different kinds of disabilities navigating the website, and it's very insightful. It's very fast to do it. So I recommend this one. If you want to learn more, you don't need to know any of this to follow this presentation. So why does accessibility matter? I mean, I'm not going to get there. I don't think we need to like discuss this. So because we all agree that accessibility matters for everybody here in this like room, and everybody like had like some kind of disability or like, they navigate the website in a ways that we don't. Let me show you very quickly how bad we are doing. So the Web Accessibility in Mind report, Web Accessibility in Mind, it's a leading nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the web accessibility, and they do this report every year. They've been doing it for a few years. And in 2026, 95.9% of the top 1 million applications, they have detectable accessibility failures with automated tools. Automated tools can only catch like 30 to 40% of accessibility problems. So that means like the number is probably worst, right? Because you actually need some manual testing by experts. And I added here a note that if you go to the report, which is on that website, it says that this year's results actually reverse a trend of gradual improvement, apparently likely driven by increased reliance on third-party frameworks and AI-assisted coding, aka vibe coding. And I did not say that. I mean, it's like on the conclusion. So it's like the irony here is like AI can absolutely help us to make our websites more accessible. It's easier than ever now, but we are still doing worse. So what can we do? Like even like I got this screenshot from a friend. Like even Copilot will tell you what's wrong when it comes to accessibility. We just need to make our agents conscious about it. So it's getting worse. We can discuss about that why later. I don't know. But let's start maybe because a lot of people are coding now. I don't know. So let's start by making it better where we can, which is the projects that we are working on. So what that shift left mean? I personally didn't know about this term before a friend mentioned it to me. To shift left in technical term meaning, it's to shift left is a technical term meaning to try and identify problems as early as you can in your software project life cycle. So in this case, could mean like accessibility. It's like it comes first. It's not after, after like on the testing, on the QA, or after you get like a lawsuit, a user complaint, because if like you put the accessibility problems, like we will fix them later, we all know what happens with the later, like something else will like take more priority. So how we can shift left on accessibility? As I said, it means catching the issues as early as possible. Ideally, it would not be on the coding. Ideally, the design phase will also have the accessibility conscious. But at least we have the power when it comes to the code. We can notice errors that some people have missed. So we want to catch that before. So the good news is that there are plenty of ways that we like and tools that we can use, like to get some insight on our like how good we are doing on accessibility on our websites. And let's see with some real examples. But wait a second, because I said that I don't have a job. So what is the real example? I was always showing things of the company that I was working for. But don't worry, because I found a willing volunteer. As a real example, I'm going to use a Ruby events website, which we all love and we all know, and it's open source, and Marco is here, It's built in Rails, so great. And I can actually submit a PR with the fixes, which I haven't yet, but I will. So the tools, so as I said, we are not yet accessibility experts, but we don't need to get started because there are a lot of tools that will teach us, that will flag issues for us. So first of all, I'm going to introduce Google Lighthouse because we all have Chrome in our computers. I don't think we all need Chrome to test out things because everybody uses Chrome. So Google Lighthouse is a free open source tool built into the Chrome DevTools. It audits your pages for performance, SEO best practices, and also accessibility. It gives you a score. I don't know what the score means. I think it means nothing. We actually had a boss at my previous company that he loved that score getting higher, but we didn't know what that meant. So whatever, it makes some people happy. Did somebody use this for an accessibility report? Okay, that's the easy one. But Lighthouse's accessibility checks are actually powered by this library called AxScore. But it only runs like a subset of the rules. So the score means nothing. It doesn't mean your website is accessible. It's not even checking all the rules that can be checked automatically. If you want a better audit, you want to go straight to the source. This is a lightweight open source JavaScript library that scans HTML against accessibility rules. It runs 96 rules, covers like the several versions and levels of compliance. It was created by a company called, I have the spelling here, like the pronunciation, DQ. It's been in the digital accessibility space in 1999, and they hold an annual conference, like free online. It's very insightful too. I attended this year. I mean, you attend online. So I recommend you check it out. Not only that, they also offer a full suite of tools built on top of AxScore. Some are free, some of them are paid. But you can check it out. You can install the browser extension also in your browser. Then last but not least, Wave is another popular free tool built by the Web Accessibility Mind, the same people that they do the report. And it's very nice because you can put it on your browser and it will overlay icons directly on your page. So it will show you where the accessibility issues are, and it has also a lot of explanations. It's visual, it's simple, and anybody on the team can use it. It's not like so developer targeted, so it's more for everybody. So what is the problem with this approach? So far, I've only shown you how to run audits on your browser. Basically, you have to remember to do it. Like you build a feature, I guess everybody does that, like you make sure that the functionality is working. And then you also need to do this on top of that. And we know what's going to happen. We don't have time for so much click testing. We will forget about it. So what's the solution? What developers do when we don't want to do things manually? Obviously, we will automate everything as much as we can. We will like do unit testing, functional testing, as much as like, so we don't have to like click test everything. So what's the good thing about automating things? Like you can make CI fail also on accessibility issues. This is the meat of the talk. So I've been like, half of the talk was like just theory, and now we are getting into the code. If your CI fails on accessibility issues, they become impossible to ignore because nobody skips CI. No, no. Like red CI is like first priority, P0, whatever you call it, So like we already built this culture, like a boss will tell you, no, you need to, well, I don't know, people. I haven't been working for 5 months, so I don't know how that feels. Uh, accessibility just needs to be part of the same pipeline. So we will always be like taking that into consideration. So let's start going through the tools that we have in the Ruby ecosystem. There are a few tools that we can use to make our pipelines fail and stop committing inaccessible code. So what about linting tools? No, like before you even run the code, like it's the earliest place when we can catch accessibility issues. You can set them in a way that you won't even be able to commit. I guess you all have that. You have some pre-hook commit or something. So if we flag the accessibility issues the same way we flag indentation problems or like a variable, like it's not used or whatever, we will be fixing them as we go. So we have ERB lint. There might be people here not doing Rails and not using ERB. They are using other templates systems. That's okay, up to you. But Ruby Events is using ERB, so we are going with that. So we all know this like library created by Shopify. It's a famous linter, but it only has one dedicated accessibility rule on it. So it's just to make sure that input elements have an autocomplete feature. That's the only one, which is not nearly enough, and we could do better. So GitHub created ERB lint GitHub that adds on top of, like, it's an extension of ERB lint and adds 16 more accessibility rules. So it checks like things like missing alt attributes on images, bad area usage, invalid attributes, and other things. You can check it out in the repo. I'm not going through all of them. And last but not least, there is this gem by Rubocop. It's Rubocop Rails Accessibility. It's not an ERB linter, but ERB lint is going to use Rubocop on the embedded Ruby code on your ERB. So it's like, for example, it catches things on helper calls like image tag, button tag, but it only currently has 3 cops. It's like 2 gems for like not that many rules, but it's better than nothing. So like, let's go quickly how you set it up and how it looks when you have it running. So Ruby events already had ERB lint, so I just added these 2 libraries. If you don't have ERB lint, I mean, I guess you maybe not, but maybe wait, but maybe you should add it. I'll extend on that later. I followed the instructions. I mean, I asked Claude to follow the instructions. So I just added whatever the setup says on GitHub. It's very easy. So you just add this. You add the following for the Rubocop Rails accessibility gem, and you run the linter. And I waited for the results. So I'm going to show you a bit of like how the errors look. So for example, you get this error. You have the name of the cop. You have some explanation. This is very nice because it's not only like, oh, you have this error. It's actually telling you what's going on, and they point you to like another website that you can learn more, and you have the file that has the problem, which is normal. This is an error from the ERB lint GitHub gem, and this is an error from the Rubocop gem. The name of the cop and some explanation. I skipped that, but whatever. You don't like. I just wanted to show you the errors. So obviously, linting catches the obvious stuff, but it only says the source code, not the full page structure. So things like color contrast, focus management, keyboard navigation, or whether like the page structure is having the landmarks or like the like H1, H2 headlines are following like a semantic order, it won't see it. So you actually need a real browser, and that's where you need to do some integration testing. I know they are slow. I know some people don't like them, but like sometimes you need to choose your battles, and I think this is worth like at least having some of them. If you are using other templating like Haml or Slim or whatever, I don't know if there are more. Honestly, I only know ERB. You don't have accessibility linking tools, so this is the only thing for you. So I already mentioned this. I already mentioned them. Axcore not only has the JavaScript library that runs the accessibility issues, they provide like some tools in other programming language, including Ruby, which is very nice because then we can add it to our Ruby applications independently if you are using Rails or like Sinatra or Roda, whatever. It provides several wrappers. You have the core, the Axe Core API, and like if you use Cucumber or RSpec, like it's very thin wrappers. In this case, we only need the Axe Core API because like the Rails application already has everything, the drivers set up and everything, so we don't need to deal with that. So how did I set that up? I added the gem on the gem file on the test group, and on our application system test case, I added like a helper method here, so I don't have to repeat the code. It's very simple. Like you get the matcher from the Axe Core API library. You initialize the matcher. Here, I'm want to say that like I've been running all the rules, but you can like set it up according to the standards that you want to follow. So you can say like, oh, I want all the versions, I want all the compliance, I want to skip some checks because maybe I'm using a third party gem that I cannot fix, and I don't want those like errors. I know I'm conscious, but at least you will know what you're skipping. You can also like say that you only want to check some things. It's pretty configurable. I didn't go through all of that, and I'm running the whole thing here. So you just like, call like the audit on the matcher, you pass the capybara page and run the assertion. So it's very simple. And then I created one accessibility like test per page. Well, I did not. I asked Claude to do it. Obviously, I understand. Oh, this is the only movement animation. I'm sorry. I understand that like you might be working in more complicated pages, and it might take a bit more dedication that you cannot like ask Claude. It's like create one accessibility test per page. I totally understand that, but at least you can try with one or two, like your root URL or your like happy path. That'd be interesting. So let's go also see how that looks. How a failure looks. So for example, for this test, like you get the normal like failure message, you get the number of accessibility violations, and the errors look like the following. Here you have the name of the error and like some explanation. You have the severity of the error because like I don't know if you're familiar with that. There are different like kinds of errors, and like you can decide whether to fix only the high severity or minor. You have more information on the DQ website, and you have the HTML that it's actually failing, and it's like it tells you how to fix it. I didn't add all the thing, but like it gives you a lot of information, and that's for every single error that you get. So like this is this number 2, this is the number 3, the number 4, the number 5, only on that website, like on that page. We had more. I just, you don't have to read this. It's just like here, I don't show the errors for you, like for us to go through them and like, oh, you need to put this on your buttons, or you need to like the page had to be like, it has to have a main landmark, whatever, the navigation, whatever. I show you these errors. I want to emphasize what I said at the beginning, that you can learn as you go. As long as you're curious and you read the error, and we all do that, we all read, we try to understand, we want to dive deeper, we want to understand what we are fixing here. You will learn about accessibility because all these tools are giving you all the information that you need, and like you will get into the rabbit hole and never get out of it. Um, for the little exploration that I've been doing for preparing this talk and in the past 2 months, I already go into a website and the first thing that I do is like try the keyboard navigation, like, oh, this doesn't work or this sucks. So I've been becoming very conscious just by like 2 months of reading how all this works, right? So we're almost there. So now we need to fix the errors, right? So how do we do it? We just go one by one. We go, we check the error, we find the code, because like, as I said, there is a lot of explanation, or we use AI. Uh, there is no reason. I understand some people might not want to use AI for everything. I also don't, but the error message is so self-explanatory that at least on the first pass, it makes a lot of sense because the agent will have all the information to not go cuckoo and hallucinate. So, and this doesn't contradict what I said before about reading the error message. I actually did, Also, nobody's vibe coding on production applications, right? So we'll go through like the code that generates and try to understand what we are doing. Like this is a good way of using AI. So that's what I did. I told my agent, in this case, I am using Claude, to fix all the accessibility issues found by the LinkedIn and the system test. I had to upgrade my cloud subscription too, so I'm down $100 because I couldn't do it with the like cheap plan, and that now we can test the results. So this is on the Wave tool that I showed you before. This is the before on the rubyevents.org page. There are like 153 errors. It looks like a lot, but there were a lot of alternative text missing from images, and like because there are a lot of like thumbnails. So it's like it looks like a lot, but it was not that bad. The contrast errors and everything. And then I told Claude to fix it. And what happened? So yeah, we still got some errors. No, so I'm not done yet. Still have 4 minutes. So the score did improve significantly. I still don't know what the score means, but it's nice. I believe more this one than the Lighthouse one. There is still like 11 contrast errors. This is because in Ruby events, if you know, like the colors of the conferences are on a YAML file. It's not. There's no way that I'm going to add a system test per conference. It doesn't make any sense. Um, but then I did what any sane person would do because I wanted to show zero here. So I tried to fix them like the errors. I went through the tool, I looked where they were, I tried to fix them, and of course I managed, Now, oops, sorry. Oh, I hate when the animations don't work. So I managed now. Zero errors, zero contrast errors. Thank you. The score is great. But there is a message there. No errors were detected. Manual testing is still necessary. And this, adds what I said before. Automated tools can only catch roughly 30 to 40% of accessibility issues. Keyboard navigation, it's difficult. I don't know if it's impossible. If you have any experience, please let me know because I'm very interested on this topic right now. Cognitive accessibility, complex widget interactions, slow connections, focus management, those things you actually require some manual testing. But not every company has this like team and accessibility experts. And, we went from 0% to 30%, which I think it's kind of an improvement, even 40%, which I think it's great. And at least you begin like being conscious about it if you are not yet. Maybe your company's already. I want to do a special mention before I wrap this up. 2 weeks ago, I met Marco at Ruby Kaigi because I was in Japan, in case you don't know. So he told me I told him I am going to use your website and great. And he told me about Herb and the linting that Herb provides. And actually, like he announced today or yesterday that GitHub is using Herb now. So they are bringing all the accessibility checks on Herb directly. So I did not open a PR because it's like, well, I hate adding gems. I would never recommend you to add a gem for the sake of it. Like, be very conscious about the gems you add on unless you add Ruby money. That's great. So I didn't open. It's like now we are in this limbo that I rather like help maybe Marco to get the accessibility checks into Herb and with each ERB all together, and we can just start because it's great. I love it. So stay tuned. Maybe I need to completely change this presentation, but maybe this is everything we are going to need in the future. And this is the code. If you want to see it, I'm rebasing with main all the time. I'll try to get at least the fixes in production soon. I'll open a PR, maybe not the test. We'll talk about it. And yeah, thank you. I made it on time. Yay.